asked them one question. Where was this energy when I was 18, sleeping on a mattress on the floor in a freezing apartment because I couldn't afford heating? Where was this support when I was skipping meals just to make rent? Where was the concern when I was struggling, alone, while they sat comfortably at family gatherings mocking me for failing? Silence. Then the switch flipped. The begging turned to demands. If I wasn't going to give them money, then I should at least lend it. Just a small loan. $50,000. Nothing too crazy. They'd pay me back. I'd barely even miss it, they said. That's when I laughed. Because they weren't desperate, they were entitled. They still saw me as the family failure. The one who had run away. The one they could ignore, dismiss, belittle, until they needed something. They hadn't changed. They weren't sorry, they were just out of options. I told them no. The screaming started immediately. My father demanding to know how I could let them lose everything. My mother shrieking that I was ungrateful, heartless, that she had carried me in her womb for 9 months, and this was how I repaid her. My brother in the background, furious, because how dare I turn my back on my own family when I had so much to spare. Block. I cut them off right there, blocked my parents, blocked my brother, and blocked every single number they had ever used to contact me. The messages started coming in through other numbers within minutes. Extended family I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly had a lot to say. Messages flooded in. How could I abandon my own parents? How could I watch my brother suffer? Some of them went straight for manipulation. If your mother dies from the stress, it'll be your fault. I ignored all of them. And then a message from my aunt. This was the only one I read all the way through. Unlike everyone else, she wasn't guilt-tripping me. She was on my side. She had heard the truth. My parents hadn't been saving for retirement. They hadn't fallen on hard times, and they weren't struggling because of bad luck. They had been blowing their money on vacations, on gifts for my brother, on luxury purchases they couldn't afford. They had spent years throwing money into a financial black hole, convinced that if they ever ran out, they could just demand more from me. When I didn't give in, my brother lost it. He went straight to social media. A long, dramatic post about how some people forget their roots, about how family should come first, about how people with money shouldn't hoard it when others are suffering. He didn't name me outright, but it didn't take a genius to figure out who he was talking about. It backfired instantly. People roasted him in the comments. They weren't stupid. They asked why, if he was so desperate he wasn't working harder, selling things, taking responsibility. One person flat out said, "Bro, your sister owes you nothing. You sound entitled as hell." Then, the final blow, someone exposed him. A former friend commented, dropping receipts, screenshots of texts, messages, and proof that my brother had lied on his loan applications. He had faked documents, inflated his income, and now, the bank was coming after him. It was only getting worse. That's when my parents went nuclear. They emailed my job. An actual email, sent to HR, claiming I was abandoning my family obligations, and that my company should reconsider employing someone so heartless. It didn't work. My boss called me in, showed me the email, and asked if I was okay. "This is harassment, and we can take action if needed," he offered. HR had already sent a polite but firm reply: "We do not engage in personal matters. Please refrain from contacting us again." That was it. I made my decision right then and there. I was leaving earlier. That night, I changed my flight. I moved everything up. In less than a week, I'd be gone. And this time, there was nothing they could do to stop me. The flight was booked, my bags were packed, and in less than 24 hours, I'd be gone. For good. Everything was planned down to the last detail. Except for one thing. Somehow, my family found out. Later, I learned that a distant cousin who I had trusted with the information had let it slip to a nosy aunt. That was all it took. Within hours, my phone started blowing up. Unknown numbers. Private calls. Family members I hadn't heard from in years suddenly desperate to talk to me. That's when I knew. Someone had leaked my flight info. I ignored every single call, turned off notifications, grabbed my suitcase and headed straight for the airport. It was crowded when I got there. Loud. I moved fast, weaving through people, keeping my head down. I checked in, got through security, and made it to my gate. No issues. And then I heard it. A screeching voice echoing across the terminal. I turned. My parents and my brother were standing right there. People were already staring. My mother was crying, loudly. My father looked furious. And my brother? Absolutely raging. They weren't just at the airport. They had found my gate. I didn't react, just turned away, facing the boarding area. They weren't my problem anymore. That's when my brother started yelling, loud enough for everyone to hear, shouting about how I was abandoning them, how I was selfish, how I was going to ruin my parents' lives by leaving. People were watching now. A few whispered. Some pulled out their phones. I saw an airport worker glance over, frowning. Then my mother collapsed, right there on the floor, hands clutching her chest, wailing. The fake breakdown. People rushed to help. A woman asked if she needed a doctor. Another person offered water. My father started shouting about how I was killing my own mother by leaving. Security arrived fast. 2 officers. Calm, professional. They asked what was happening. My mother, still on the ground, sobbed that her daughter was abandoning her, that I had been brainwashed, that I was being manipulated by outsiders. My brother pointed directly at me, told the officers I was a horrible person. I didn't respond, just pulled out my boarding pass. Held it up. The airline worker nodded, waved me toward the gate. Boarding had started. That's when my father grabbed my suitcase. Not to stop me, to open it. He went straight for my passport. Airport security immediately stepped in, told him to let go. He argued, tried to act like it was a misunderstanding. They didn't care. They told him if he didn't leave, they'd escort him out. I stepped forward, looked at my parents, looked at my brother, one last time. Then I said it, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I'll send you a postcard if I remember you exist." And then I walked away, stepped onto the plane, took my seat,